guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing a massive unhaul of some really popular books. Forgive the lighting, we are having a cloudy, rainy day. It's actually the middle of the afternoon, but I'm having to use my ring light to get any light here in my office. So sorry for that, but I have a huge stack. Let me grab it. I mean, this is like half, not even, of what we're going to be unhauling today. Hold on! So unlike most of my unhaul videos where I actually unhaul mostly TBR books, and I do that at the end of the year, I go through my shelves, I kind of cull them of things I'm no longer interested in, make some room for the new year. I will link those videos down below as well as up in the cards. These books are mostly ones that I have read and I decided that I don't want to keep. So most of them are ones that I either DNF'd, I didn't like, or I didn't love. So we're going to dive into them. Go into all the explanations. Some of these are super popular, so you're going to be surprised to see them in this stack. Are a few that I've decided to get rid of that I haven't read. It's going to be just a whole thing. I've decided to unhaul my Hex Hall trilogy. I read Hex Hall and Demon Glass. I did not make it to Spellbound. This was on my series to finish last year. I enjoyed Hex Hall and I thought it was really fun. This is a YA witchy series, paranormal. A girl has like witchy powers. She gets sent to like a paranormal school with like vampires and witches and ghosts. It's really fun and very quick paced, but it's nothing that I feel like it's going to stick with me. And I didn't love the second book. I thought it was only okay. The audiobooks I do not recommend if you're going to read these physically, but these are all about like a 3-star for me. And I think there are just so many good paranormal books and good like school paranormal books that I don't feel like I'm going to be recommending this a lot. So unhauling these. Asylum by Madeleine Roux. I'm kind of sad about this one and kind of on the fence about it. I listened to this via audio for my Not So Scary-a-thon readathon. I think I did anyway. And really love Madeleine Roux's House of Furies series. And I liked this one had some like kind of cool things in the book. So this is about a kid that goes to school in like an old asylum and there's like creepy things that happen, but it wasn't very creepy. It was a little bit on the dull side. It was much younger on the YA scale than what I normally enjoy. Obviously I'm not the target audience, but I love mostly YA books. And I just found it a little bit dull and I just don't see myself wanting to read the next books in the series. But I do like Madeleine Roux's other books, so I think I'm gonna unhaul this one. And I might have one other one somewhere on my shelf, so we're gonna have to scan. All right, What Light by J. Asher. If I have any vlogs where I'm reading any of these books, I'm gonna link them down below in the description and try and link them up in the cards as well because some of them were really fun while I was reading them. This is What Light by J. Asher. This is a YA Christmas story, which is one of the reasons I've held on to it for so long. Back when I read it like in 2017, there weren't really that many young adult Christmas books that I enjoyed. So I really love the premise of this. Our main character's family owns a Christmas tree farm. She has to like leave to go to California to run that Christmas tree farm and she meets a boy, but he's got like a mysterious secret and everybody kind of tells her to stay away with him. You're trying to figure out what it is. It's very rom-com-y and cozy and I really liked that part. But then you find out why everyone's telling her to stay away from the boy and it's just a bit too much. Like it's a bit much to get over and I thought it was kind of dramatic. I feel like this kind of turned into like a kind of like darker contemporary where we're kind of digging into like what makes people like a good person or a bad person and forgiveness and stuff, and it lost its like rom-comminess. Yeah, it was just very dramatic. So I read it twice now. I did it via audio just to make sure that I had remembered correctly. So I think I gave this one 2.5 stars, but it's time to unhaul. Okay, so every January to kick off the new year, I pick a really hyped fantasy series, trilogy, book to start the new year with because I am not the best with jumping into fantasy books, mainly because I like all these themes that we do for readathons and times of the year, and a lot of the fantasy books don't work for the themes, so I wind up not reading as many. And also I get burnt out on fantasy if I read too many in a row. It all kinds of blends together. So for this year, I picked Bear and the Nightingale. This is an adult, kind of like historical fantasy retelling of Vasilia the Beautiful. Very loose retelling, and I buddy grabbed this one with a friend. This is a full trilogy. I was very excited to dive into it because I've heard it was like lush and descriptive, and it is, but it is very descriptive. I did the audiobook. The narrator was good. I just felt like it was really long. It was very descriptive, and sometimes I love that and sometimes I don't. It has a Russian folklore setting. We've got some little demon-y type creatures in here. There are some religious aspects. We're getting kind of like religious prosecution, you're a witch vibes, which is not really my my favorite. And I just felt like it was really long and I just didn't care enough to continue on with 2 more books. And I heard the second one was better, but it's also kind of long. So I think I'm just going to unhaul these and call it good. I don't have the 3rd one. This makes like the 3rd or 4th January book in a row that I have either DNF'd or unhauled. Last year it was, I think, Spinning Silver, which again was a good book. It just was not my vibe. And the year before was Strange the Dreamer, which shocked me because I love Laini Taylor's other series. So hopefully this is not a curse and we can break it next year. But for now, unhauling these beauties. I will say though, my friends are torn. Like half my friends like DNF'd or hated those books, and then the other half, it's like 5 stars, all-time favorite read. So it might still be worth checking out. Next we have Devouring Gray. I've actually read this one twice as well. So this is by Christina Lynn Herman. This is a YA duology. It's a spooky duology. It's kind of got like Riverdale vibes, even though I've never seen Riverdale. We have like different families and there's different magical powers, and the certain families don't like each other and they all have like a goal to keep this like magical creepy forest at bay. I enjoyed this while reading it. I think I gave it like 3.75, and the second one I gave like 3 stars. But again, it's just something I don't feel like is going to stick with me, and I have a lot of books with this kind of similar aspect to it that I liked more. So, unhauling. This one, again, I'm kind of on the fence about, but The Other Side of the Sky by Megan Spooner and Amy Kaufman. I love a lot of their books, so this was kind of a surprise. So this is just a very strange book. I buddy read this one with a friend last year, and then I just recently finished the duology. I don't have the second book. And this one basically have 2 different worlds. One's kind of more like Earth and one is kind of like up in the clouds. You're following a girl in this like cloud world, and their culture richly believes in like magic and people being like gods and goddesses and like in control of things. And then the boy on like the more Earth world, but it's like a futuristic kind of Earth, believes in like technology and advancement and science, and they wind up kind of meeting up and having to kind of like figure out who's right and who's wrong, and kind of get glimpses into both worlds. Bad description. A little bit of a love story in here. Very detailed, very fun. I think I gave this, again, 3.75. I did like the ending to the second one, but it's a little convoluted. Again, I don't think it's something I'm going to be like recommending a lot. It's a very strange book as well. I would still recommend this one to certain types of people, especially if you're kind of into like sci-fi with like a little bit of a fantasy element, but I don't think I need to hold on to it. We have Trapped by Michael Northrup. I actually read a few of these for a winter reading vlog in January that I filmed, and I decided not to post it because the time kind of got away from me and I didn't feel like it was that good. So sorry about that. But this one I read because it had the winter vibes. It was a survival story about teenagers like being stuck at school during a snowstorm. It is YA, but this is older YA, like 2010, and it definitely feels more middle grade in the writing. I just did not enjoy this one at all. I'll link my January wrap up where I describe a little bit more why, but I think I only gave this one like 2 stars. The ending was not good. I didn't like the language between the characters, so bye. Next we have Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. Don't freak out, I love Rainbow Rowell and I did really enjoy this trilogy. I just found a pretty blue copy of this book and I liked the blue one better, even though this one goes better with the first 2. So I decided to unhaul this one because I don't need 2 of them. Carnival of Souls by Melissa Marr. I buddy read this one with a friend during Not So Scary-a-thon. I did half physical, half audio. Narrator was really good for this one. However, this is an incomplete like series duology, like the second book I don't think ever came out. And it's just very, very weird. I thought I was gonna have more of like a carnival vibe about it, which is one of the reasons I picked it up. I don't even know how to describe this one. There's like these daemons, which are kind of like demons, and there's like different classes in this city and they have to like compete against each other. Werewolves, all kinds of things. I'm doing a bad job describing it, but it was just done very strangely. I didn't know what was happening. The love story was not very good. I almost DNF'd this, but I buddy read it, so I finished it. Rooms by Lauren Oliver had been on my TBR for so long. Again, I think I read this for Not So Scary-a-thon, but I'm not sure. I love Lauren Oliver. I've read a bunch of her books. I was very excited to get into this. This was her debut adult novel and possibly her only adult novel. Kind of has like a very loose horror element, but it's not really scary at all. You're following like this family and their dad has just passed, and you're getting the perspective of like the house and different rooms in the house and how they feel about the family and thoughts about how they were growing up and things like that, which is really interesting but it was really just kind of more of like a depressing contemporary. The room aspect was not like scary, and it was kind of more of like a metaphor. And while I love her writing style, there was like disturbing parts in here and not in a fun way. And like a lot of other YA authors that debut their adult novels, I felt like this one was maybe trying to kind of prove that it was an adult novel, and I just didn't really enjoy it that much. So I think I gave this one 2 stars. I'm not sure. All right, I'm gonna talk about these, but I'm gonna unhaul them a little later because I'm filming a video that I do need them for, but I want to put them in here so you guys can see. So Updraft by Erin Stevens. We're going to talk about this one just really quickly because this is an indie book, and I try not to talk too badly about indie books. I actually did enjoy this first one decently. This is like a new adult mermaid. In this one, their males are mostly mermaids, and there's like this town. There are like a bunch of males, and they're kind of mysterious, and our main character's trying to figure out why, and everybody's kind of like falling in love and getting married and having babies really fast. It has a really strange vibe about it. Heavy on the like insta-love and mating and things like that. This one I think I gave like 3.5 stars. There was like a weird action sequence that was kind of fun, but I really did not like the second one. Got really in depth into like the mating portions. I didn't care about the romance. So that's all I'll really say on that. But Unhauling. Waterfell by Emily Howard. I was very excited about this one. I absolutely love the cover, and I thought it was mermaidy. It is not mermaidy. It is kind of like ocean creature-esque, but not mermaidy. More sci-fi. Again, this might be indie, but I'm not sure. I just felt like this just didn't really do much for me. Like, it was kind of adventurous, kind of fun, but kind of slow, and just nothing that's going to really stick with me. We're following our main character, and she is a part of the Aqua Rathi royalty. She's like pretending to be a human as like part of a study for her like clan. And that's kind of the gist of it. You're kind of uncovering what she is and what she's supposed to do. And there's a little romance in here, but I just didn't love it. And then we have Darling Rose Gold by Stephanie Roble. I may or may not have already talked about this one in my February wrap-up. I did not enjoy this one. I read it for my 5-star TBR, which I will link the vlog for that again down below. You're following Rose Gold Watts, who her entire life she was told that she was like sick and she had her hair falling out and she was throwing up all the time. Her mother spent countless hours taking care of her and her neighbors, and then they come to find out that her mother was poisoning her and lying to everyone. Her mother goes to jail, and then when she's 23, her mother comes out of jail and she lets her come live with her. So you're following Patty and Rose, and you're kind of uncovering things that happened in the past, and you're trying to figure out if Rose is really okay with her mother or if she's plotting something, whether Patty is like aware of what she's doing or if she's kind of crazy, or even if she actually did it. And I just found this one really boring and very predictable and disturbing, and again, not in a fun way. The characters were all unlikable, and I just did not really enjoy this at all, and I wouldn't even consider it a thriller. So sadly, not for me. All right, we have 3 more, and these are the most controversial ones. So we've got Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. I read this one last year, and I was real proud of myself because this is a thick book. It is also a absolutely stunning book. There are so many beautiful pictures in here. Oh, it like hurts me that I'm gonna unhaul this one. So this is a high vampire fantasy, very adult by J. Kristoff. I really enjoy some of his books, especially the Illuminae files, and I plan to read more from him later this year. This one was written very well. I feel like a lot of people that like very detailed, intense fantasy will enjoy it. It was very interesting. There's different clans of vampires, and you're kind of following like mostly one young man as he like becomes a vampire, and there's like all these different kinds of vampires. It's got kind of like a Game of Thrones kind of vibe to it a little bit. There's some religious aspects in here, but I thought it was too intense, and up until like the very end, I was kind of a little bit bored. I felt like it could have been shorter. There was just so much detail to it, and I did do it on audio, which really helps. It also has like a lot of guy talk, kind of gross humor with the guys just talking certain ways about their body parts and women, and like foul language and a lot of cussing, and I know this is an adult fantasy, so I should expect that, and I don't mind it in certain forms, but it just kind of got old after a while, so I don't think I'm going to be holding on to this one. I'm not going to continue on with the series. And lastly, Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco and Kingdom of the Cursed. This is actually a signed copy. Ugh. So this was one of my most anticipated books of 2021, and I actually really enjoyed Kingdom of the Wicked. I thought that it was done so well. Carrie Maniscalco wrote Stalking Jack the Ripper, which is a YA quartet. This is very much a new adult trilogy. The first book's a little more YA and then it changes, which we'll talk about in a second. I've talked about this so many times now. I enjoyed this one. We're following Amelia, and her sister has been killed and she believes that she's been murdered. Amelia and her sister were witches, and Amelia runs into one of the 7 princes of hell, and his name is Wrath, and she kind of thinks that he might be the one that murdered her sister, and you're kind of got like a murder mystery going. There's lots to do with like magic. There's a lot to do with like romance. I actually enjoyed this book and I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was really cool and detailed, and I loved the magic system. I love the setup of the 7 princes of hell being like the 7 deadly sins. I thought that was very cool. But then we go into Kingdom of the Cursed, which is book 2, and we take a drastic turn into being solidly new adult book, and it turns into pretty much, in my opinion, straight smut. We still have some things to do with the story and her trying to like unsolve the mystery and all these other things unfolding, but the majority of the scenes are just people wanting to like have sex with each other. And because we've got this 7 deadly sins vibe about it, there are aspects of that as well, so greed and lust and things like that. I wouldn't have cared so much if it wouldn't have started out YA, because I just feel like it's messed up to start out a book YA and then switch into this much of a new adult smutty twist, especially when they're written so close together. Like, I do not recommend young adults to read this because of like how graphic and smutty it is, especially the 3rd book, which I DNF. It just bothered me, the switch, so much. Like, if I knew what it was going into it, it wouldn't have bothered me so bad, or if it would have kind of kept the same tone. Even though the first book, like the romance was getting developed, they couldn't have as many like smutty scenes, but I feel like they could have just like prepared us and made it like a solid new adult book, whereas this one just like shocked me, and I just did not wind up enjoying it at all. I just felt like our main character was like brain dead and all she thought about was like having sex with the guy that she was interested in, and it was not for me. If you like a good smutty fantasy read, you will probably enjoy this one. That's just not my style. I was mainly just salty about the switch. I just feel like if you pick one genre, you should stick with it for the whole series. Unless it's like Harry Potter, where we literally take 12 years for it to come out and we kind of grow up with the books. So, unhauling these. Okay guys, so those are all of the books that I am unhauling at the moment. I will keep stacking up piles as I read things that I no longer enjoy. I have no problem getting rid of books that are not like favorites. I do keep a lot of books. If I dislike them as much as I liked most of these, they're out of here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've unhauled anything recently down below in the comments. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at @thebrightside_girl for more bookish and non-bookish content. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time on The Bright Side.